Hello, I'm Rainy. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this gorgeous rainbow birthday cake for my daughter's 3rd birthday. We absolutely loved it. Lily especially loved it. So all that and more coming up. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. It's really great to have you here today, and I hope that you'll consider subscribing. Now, I generally try to post one video every 2 weeks, and I try to get it out on a Thursday evening, but sometimes I don't manage to get it out on time as life gets in the way, especially with 2 children who are under 4. So as I'm sure you can imagine, things can get a little bit hectic this end. But of course, if you subscribe and hit that bell button, then you will get notified every time I post a new video. But without further ado, let's start this video. So before I made my cake, the first thing I did was to make all of my decorations. Now, I've already done video tutorials for how I made the fondant panda and the fondant rainbow cake topper, and both of those are linked in the I button above and also in the description below. Here I am cutting out all of my circles for the different coloured balloons that I'm going to make on the cake. So really simple, just take a circle cutter and cut out lots of circles in whatever colour fondant you want. Now, I have strengthened my fondant with a little bit of CMC powder, just because I find this makes my fondant easier to work with when I'm cutting my pieces out, but I don't want them to set firm, so obviously here I'm cutting my clouds out. And what I did was to take each of these pieces and put them into Ziploc bags to ensure that they remained pliable when I applied them to my cake. So now on to the ingredients for your cake. You will need 12 ounces of butter and 12 ounces of castor sugar. You will need 12 ounces of self-raising flour with 6 ounces of plain flour. You will also need 6 large eggs. You'll need, well, I used 2 lemons and the grated zest of all of my lemons, and a dash of vanilla as always. I never measure this, just a splash. And I use this vanilla essence, but you can obviously use whichever type of vanilla you like. And although I haven't shown it in my ingredients list here, I always add a little bit of milk too. So basically you're going to cream together your castor sugar and your butter until it's light and fluffy, and then you want to add your eggs one at a time. I usually add them with a little bit of flour just to help stop them curdling, and keep repeating that process until you've used up all your eggs. Next, you're going to scrape down your bowl and your beater just to make sure that all of your mix is thoroughly incorporated. There's always some little bits at the bottom that don't quite get caught by the beater. And then once you've done this, you want to add in your grated lemon zest and your juice, the lemon juice. Now you're going to add in your dash of vanilla and give that all a good mix up. And finally you're going to add in all your flour. Now I tend to find now it easier to mix my flour in by hand until it's more or less incorporated, and then I finish it off on the stand mixer. It just helps to stop all the flour from flying everywhere. And then finally you're going to add in your 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. Next you're going to divide your batter evenly between 6 bowls and start to add your colourings in. Now I've used a mix of Sugarflair colours and Wilton colours here, so I'll leave a list of them in the description below. And you basically are going to colour your batter until you are happy with the desired colours. I have used red. Red is the hardest one I tend to find to do, reds and blacks. Not that we're using black for this one. But for your red, you want to use quite a lot of the paste. So I start with a little bit, keep mixing, and then I'll add in more and then add in more until it gets to kind of the depth of colour that I'm happy with. Next, you pour your cake batter into 6 greased and lined cake tins. Now I'm using 7-inch cake tins here, and then you're going to level off the tops. And it's also helpful to give them a good bang on the counter, and that will get out any air bubbles. We'll get out a lot of them anyway. Then you're going to pop your cakes into an oven which is preheated to 170 degrees for about half an hour, or until a skewer comes out clean. Once your cakes are done, pop them out onto a cooling rack and allow them to cool completely. So to build my cakes, all I did was to take some buttercream, which I had already pre-made. If you want to see how I made this buttercream, you can see the video tutorial that I will link in the I button above. So this is just ordinary buttercream, and then some strawberry jam, which I had heated up a little bit in the microwave to make it a little bit easier to spread. And then I continue to fill the middle with some buttercream. And by doing it this way, you create a bit of a dam so that your jam doesn't spill out the edges of your cake when you keep adding your layers of cake, so that when you come to crumb coat it, you're not going to get bits of jam in your crumb coat as well. Now, I didn't want my cake to be too sweet, so what I did was do one layer of buttercream and jam, then one layer of just buttercream, and then so for the next layer, buttercream and jam again, and then for the following layer, it was just buttercream, and I just kept repeating this process until I got to the end of my cake. And when I finished building it, it looked like this, and I thought it was really pretty and could have left it like that, but obviously we had decorating to do. So for my crumb coat, I just continued to use the buttercream that I'd already made, the white buttercream, and didn't worry too much about making this perfect. And obviously it's a crumb coat, so the whole purpose of this is just to trap all of your crumbs so that when you put your final coat on it, you get a beautiful clean finish. And then once my cake was crumb coated, I popped it in the fridge for about half an hour to an hour to let that buttercream firm up before adding my final blue buttercream layer. So again, all I've done here is just to add a little bit of blue food colouring to my buttercream to give it that beautiful colour. And it's really key that you just add a little bit of colour at a time so that you can build up the depth of colour rather than putting too much in at a time. And then literally just kept going around smoothing it with my palette knife, getting a nice smooth top. And then once I was happy with my top, I used my bench scraper, which I think you've seen me use in other videos before. If you haven't got a bench scraper, this is absolutely key to getting a beautiful finish on your cake, so you should invest in one of these. And then once you're happy with your finish, you pop your cake back into the fridge for another half hour to an hour to let that buttercream firm up again. Now, the key to making your cake absolutely beautifully finished is to use a bowl of boiling hot water with your bench scraper, and then what you're going to do is you're going to keep heating your bench scraper up in the bowl of hot water. Obviously dry it off before you use it on the cake, so you don't want to get water onto your buttercream. But what this does is it allows you to create an absolutely super smooth finish on your cake. And it just makes it look really beautiful and really professional. And I was so pleased because I think this was the best sharp-edged cake I've ever made so far. So that was my little tip for how to get your sharp edges and your really clean lines on your cake. And I think you'll see in the next view just how beautiful it came out. And then once I was happy with the finish, I popped it in the fridge again for another half hour to firm up before decorating. So as you can see, just how beautiful are those edges. It's just super clean, super sharp, and it just looks really beautiful. So the final bit was to decorate. So here I'm just adding my clouds in a random order. It didn't really matter where I placed them, just wherever I was happy. And keep going around, filling it up, and then you want to leave a little bit of a gap because you want to make space for your balloons. So if you've seen the film Up, you will have seen that beautiful cloud of balloons that obviously he allows to erupt from his house, and so I wanted to get a little bit of an effect like that, obviously not quite to that same extent. So lots of different colour balloons, or circles rather, of fondant, overlapping them and just really working my way from the outside in, because I wanted the middle balloons to be the ones that sat on top. And that's pretty much it. You just play around with the colours and the spacing until you are happy with your design. And now I know obviously real balloons are not circles, they are more of a sort of oval shape, but for this sort of purpose it really doesn't matter, because A, they're being covered by each other, so you can't see that they're not completely, that they are perfect circles, but also, it's cartoony, it's cute, it doesn't matter. So once I was happy with the placement of my balloons, it was time to add in my panda. So I just placed him on the board with a little bit of watered down fondant to make a fondant blue. And again, I think I've shown how I do this in another video, and this will be linked above in the I button. And then because I wanted to make it look like he was holding the balloons, I took a piece of wired ribbon that I had in my arsenal and glued this to the cake under one of the balloons, and then to make it so that he was holding the ribbon, and obviously you could just glue it to his paw, but what I used was a like dressing pin that you would use for sewing, and I pushed that into his paw through the ribbon so that it stayed in place. I think you can just see that in that image there. It's quite hard to see it, but he's got a little pin just in his paw, and the head of the pin is white, and I've obviously placed it into the white pad of his paw, so it's not massively obvious. But even if it was obvious, it just looks like he's holding like a little handle or something for the balloons. And then I had pre-made some letters for Lily's name, and these I did allow to dry out because these I did want to set firm. So I'm just playing around here with placement and then adhering them with a little bit of water. And then my final step on the day of my daughter's birthday was to add the rainbow cake topper that we'd already made in advance. Again, you can see the video for this in the I button above. And so here is the finished cake, and just how beautiful is it? I was so pleased with it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lily. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Right, you're going to blow it. Got to blow the candle. Go on, big blow.
Good girl.
Yay! Yay! Good girl. Panda. Panda, it is a panda. What do you think, Lily? What is it?
I think we didn't eat it.
Wait, how can we eat it in a minute? What's this?
Rainbow.
Rainbow. Yeah, it's not touched yet because it will break. And what's this?
Rainbow.
So that's it, guys. That's it for this cake tutorial. I really hope that you've found it useful and that you've enjoyed it. And of course, if you have, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button that's down below. And don't forget to hit that bell notification as well. And as always, I love hearing from you guys. I have been so blown away by all of your lovely comments and support. You've just really made it so worthwhile, and I'm so thankful to each and every one of you. So thanks, guys. And of course, I'd love to hear what you think of this video. And of course, if you have a go at making this cake, then you can share your pictures of it with me on Instagram. I am Rainy S. Johnson, and if you take a look at the description below, you can find all my details down there. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!